child screaming outside my window. Hey, kid, we got a show to do.
What'd you
Is
do
that
to
your
him,
kid,
John?
John, out there?
What's that?
What'd you do to him?
Nothing. He's just walking by crying for some reason. Who knows? Kids, huh?
Kids, pass the beer nuts.
Well, happy Tuesday, everyone.
Yeah, let's turn this frown upside down. John, happy Tuesday.
Yeah, it's a really nice day outside. I don't know if you've stepped outside yet, but it's much cooler than it was yesterday, and a lot of the humidity gone with dew points in the 50s. O'Hare's got just under an inch of rain yesterday, but that was one of the lighter spots with heavier rainfall totals west, southwest, and northwest Indiana. We're looking at really kind of a pretty look at downtown right now, a mix of sun and clouds, and this is basically what we're going to get. I think we'll get an increase in clouds early afternoon hours, so a little bit more cloud than sun. But temperatures won't get to the 80s today, so it'll be below average. We'll call it a high temperature of 78. And guys, this is as late as the sunset gets today and the next couple days. In fact, we're losing, guys, 9 whole seconds of daylight today. So we're
9 whole seconds?
Yep, we're over the hump and we're starting to lose more and more daylight, but we got a while before it really picks up. So 7-day forecast, boy, I'm a real positive person today. 76 tomorrow with some storms possible. Thursday is going to be a great day with temperatures rebounding back to the 80s, but we don't have the high dew points yet. The humidity really returns Friday, and it returns with a vengeance, a muggy set of, and it goes beyond this screen here too, Tuesday, Wednesday next week too, just kind of like a week-long pattern of hot, humid temperatures with a chance for showers and storms pretty much every single day. So calm today, calm Thursday, but the rest of the bunch on and off storms across the area.
All right, thank you, John Hanson. First guest today is someone talk about something near and dear to my household. We're talking video gaming. Vicki Blake is a video game writer, a critic, and a podcaster. And we're here to talk about the new PS5 that was just released. Thank you so much for joining us, Vicki. It is the weirdest looking thing I've seen.
They have completely broken the mold of how the PlayStation's always looked. Up until this point, we've always been used to having a black box.
Yeah.
And this is the first time they've stepped away from that. And no one's really sure what it's supposed to look like now. It's chunky, presumably to try and stop it from overheating, which is a problem that we have with PS4 at the moment. But exactly the height of it and the wraparound white exterior is it's caused some waves. Let's say that.
Yeah, where do you put it?
Well, I don't know where I can put it because it certainly can't go where my PS4 currently is because I'm in a really small media unit underneath the TV. So I'm not sure, but I think that's what everybody is asking right now.
So what does the PS5 do that the PS4 didn't do?
Most of it is going to be about the speed and how quickly games will load. So we won't have the loading screens that gradually, as the generations got on and on, those loading screens have got longer as we've been pushing the capabilities of the technology that we have at the moment and trying to improve how quickly you can kind of get in the action and start straight away. So there's going to be a huge boost in that. There's also, with every generation, we get an increase in the quality of the graphics, but also sound. And then the other thing will be the actual storage inside the unit. This is the first time that PlayStation or Sony has released or is planning to release a unit that has no disk drive. So that means that you will only be able to purchase downloadable games. And to give you an example, I mean, when the PS4 came out, most of them had a 500 gig allowance in their hardware. And the latest Call of Duty game alone takes up, if you have the Battle Royale additional game on that, you're looking at 150, 180 gigs. So you'd be able to get 2 games on it and then it would be full.
Oh, wow.
So it'll be interesting to see how that changes as we move forward and what kind of memory we'll have in it. But speed is certainly something they've been emphasizing.
Yeah, you kind of answered the question. So we won't be able to use any of the PS4 games on the PS5 because now they have to be streamed.
So No, there's also a unit that will have a disk drive. So there'll be a digital edition and a standard edition which has a disk drive. There's going to be a price difference, and no one's telling what that is just yet. So we're waiting to find out. But the wonderful thing is that PlayStation is supporting backwards compatibility. So that means if you have a really good library of PS4 games, particularly if you've got them on disc, you'll be able to load those up and play them on your PS5 going forward. So unlike other generations when we kind of had to leave our favorite games behind, we are able to take them with us into the next gen, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it seems like they're finally getting a little bit smarter about that. Now, Xbox is going to be releasing a competitive version. Is it the Xbox X?
It's the Xbox Series X. These names are not easy to remember every time they do this. I know we went from kind of the Xbox to the 360, then we went back to one, and now we're doing Series X. So yes, it's obviously it's the competitors. You would argue that this generation PlayStation probably has the win, probably has been more successful. The prior generation, Microsoft definitely was leading the charge. So this is almost the one where we'll see how it's all going to even out. But Xbox has been a firm believer in backwards compatibility for some time, and also has its Game Pass system, which enables you to access a library of games for a small monthly charge. PlayStation has a similar system, but it certainly hasn't been as successful as Xbox. So again, it'll be curious to see, particularly if we're having to download them or stream them, how the tech is going to manage that.
Any release of new technology comes with criticism, critique, and a whole lot of memes. And as someone who covers this stuff, that must be part of the fun for you. I think we have a couple of the memes we're going to show off of what people have taken with the PS5 and done. Oh, yep. There's a
yeah, that's a great one, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's see
the internet. One. The internet. Oh my goodness. See, that looks like a 2006 modem with just some thing. I mean, that's brilliant. That's a PS2 with a binder behind it.
I mean,
so, but I mean, go on.
Go ahead.
This is a napkin, a paper towel.
They all look like 2003 routers that have just been wrapped. I mean, that's outstanding. The internet's never better than when it's memeing. I mean, the internet can be a really horrible place, but actually, these are fantastic.
Yeah,
that's great.
I just don't get why would they make it bigger in an era where things are getting smaller to make them more useful? Why would they go the other direction? I mean, I have my kid plays Xbox in the basement, but we have one of the media consoles where it's short. Absolutely. I don't want something big and bulky in my house.
Absolutely. I don't know the technical reason, but I'm almost certain it's to do with cooling the system. The PS4 has been quite maligned for having it whenever, particularly if you're running. I don't know if anyone's playing The Last of Us 2 now, which is the latest game from Naughty Dog, and my system sounds like it's about to take off and float up into the air. So it's really loud and it's really distracting. And the whole point of gaming, and one of the reasons we game instead of other media, is because it's so immersive. And actually hearing that gigantic fan running in the background does ruin the immersion. So I suspect it's to do with trying to keep the system cool. But the Xbox Series X is also of a similar build. It's going up instead of out. So all of us will be having to change our media units or just stay in current gen as long as you can.
Amy, you could put it right next to all those books you don't read. Just slide it right in there. So usually when I think of video games and people who play them, I typically think of young boys and men. And here you are, none of those. Look at you. How'd you get to this?
It's a curious thing, and I didn't start writing about games until well into my 30s, which is not the best time to start a career writing about games. I grew up always gaming. My dad was a gamer. I remember when I was really small, kind of sitting on the living room rug and playing Zelda with him. He would do the controls and I would be telling him to do this or do the being bossy, basically, which is what I'm best at. And then as I got older, I had consoles on my own. I have two brothers who are also huge gamers, one of which I play still regularly with, I play games with. And it was quite interesting because I grew up thinking that most games weren't for me. Certainly they were marketed that way so that they didn't apply to women or girls. And that's got better as we've got older. But as I've got older, my tastes have become more and more like a 12-year-old boy. So I do play a lot of shooters. I do play a lot of battle royales. I play a lot of Apex Legends. Like I said, I'm going through Last Verse. I like a lot of horror games. So I grew up thinking I was really different because of my difference, because of being so unique, and for being a female that was really into games. And it's as I've gone through, I've just seemed to have regressed into playing all those games I didn't touch when I was smaller. But it's great, because I think it's really important that everyone knows that gaming isn't just for guys, and it isn't just for young people. And as I said, for me, I read a lot of books and I still watch a lot of films, but games allow you to be part of a story that other media just don't let you. And I think for everybody who's in lockdown now and have kids who've got their Xboxes and their PS4s and feel that they don't understand it, have a look. There's so many fantastic stories that are involved in games, and some of the greatest stories I've ever seen have been through games. So
Amy, sorry, I didn't mean
sorry,
to
go on. That's
no, I
okay.
was going to say, Amy, you got to get your son, because she is still living a well-rounded life. Like, people are usually spending like 10 hours on these games.
Well, yeah, no, I would get him, except he's not allowed to get on his games until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Vicki, I do have a question for you though, because my son is 10 and very into Fortnite, still doing a little bit of Minecraft. Is there something else out there too that might be good for him that's not, I mean, I don't think Fortnite's all that bad, but anything else that would be a good, interesting game for him?
There's some fantastic family games for starters, so games that everybody can play together. But the Lego series are particularly really good. So they have all the humor and the color and the vibrancy of Lego and the Lego movies, but they're also in games. There's some really good cooperative games. There's one particular one called Overcooked, which is you're working in a kitchen and you have to work kind of collaboratively to, you know, kind of toast the buns and flip the burger and put everything, but it all goes terribly wrong. And the further into you get, the more mayhem that it causes. I'm saying it's a great family game. I've got very close to divorcing my husband playing it, so maybe it's not the greatest game, but it's really cool. So there are plenty of games, and there's some really good sites. So if I wouldn't know the annoyingly, I don't know the US one, but I can send you the link so that you'll be able to find it. But there are some great advocacy sites that really push kind of family-friendly gaming so that everybody can get involved. It's not just for kids; it is for grown-ups too.
Yeah, I do check out Common Sense Media, at least when I know.
Oh, that's brilliant! Yes,
because they do give you some really good reviews on them. So that's
that kitchen one reminds me of the arcade game that you used to play as a kid. That
Burger
touched
Time.
like a beer, a brewer, where you'd fill up the beers and you'd slide them down the thing. Gamer culture has obviously changed a lot, Vicki, over the last 10 or 15 years. I think some stigmas around it, like we're talking about, have gone away. Even now, schools and administrations now toying with the idea of e-sports and gaming being part of not their curriculum, but their extracurricular activities.
No, it's part of their actual curriculum now.
Oh, yeah. Well, then, yeah. Wow. And also like creating the Illinois High School Association, exploring the option of tournaments, you know, that aren't, you know, the sports, but they're the e-sports. I imagine that's huge for the entire community, Vicki.
It's absolutely massive, and I think it's there is still kind of a masculine sheen to all of esports, and it's a more difficult space for girls to get into. But yeah, it's part of legitimizing not just the industry, but the people who play it, who make millions. It's just million. It's such a lucrative area. I mean, if you're in the right. No one wants me on their team. I sell my skills as being a very average gamer, because I'd like to think that if you're super effective at something, then actually your review isn't particularly helpful, because unless you've got brilliant skills, you're not going to be able to do you know what I mean? So yeah, no one will be looking for me. But yes, it's a huge way to legitimize it. And just recently in the UK, we've had BBC Sport start expanded into esports, and actually the lockdown's been a big part of that, whereas we've been looking at ways that we can still participate in the kind of companionship of sport without obviously going out and being unsafe. And quite interestingly, the Premier League soccer season has just restarted in the UK, and to try and avoid the the silence and the awkwardness of not having a crowd. They've actually imported sounds from EA's FIFA
Wow.
series.
We were talking about this yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So they're using that to try and kind of build up the atmosphere at places. So, you know, there's lots of things that happen in games that are quite invisible, but we don't realize how much it impacts everything else. And that's just one example.
Vicky, you need to be our gaming correspondent. This is great.
Yeah, seriously.
I will say we're a Tottenham household, and so we've been watching.
Oh, mine too. So yes, well done. You're in good company. Yeah.
Yes, we've been watching some of the matches, and just when you can watch them online in silence, or you can watch them on TV with the sounds piped in, it's crazy.
It's a huge difference, isn't it? Yeah. And you can see why kind of the people behind the sport have been desperately looking for alternative ways to try and maintain that. It's sport doesn't sound right when there's no crowd.
It's so weird.
Now you guys are speaking another language.
I can't say I can help out with the sport correspondence. That's not me.
Well, Vicky, it was great to chat with you. Thanks for coming on. Let's get the information.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, you're lovely. Thank you.
There's underscore VIXX Vicky.
That's me.
Well, I hope so. Otherwise, we really messed up. Thanks, Vicky.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, man, so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, you're talking about bringing it to schools, John. So they do a lot of stuff like in Henry's math class where it's like Dreambox. So they're games, but they're math. You have to use math to get the answers to the games to progress. Cool. It's so smart, especially for a kid that's a gamer, you know?
Why don't they use chalkboards like they used to in the good old days?
Back in the good old days.
Oh, we had overhead projectors.
I loved the overhead. I wanted an overhead projector for Christmas one year, and all I got was a dry erase board. Ugh.
Of course, you wanted an overhead projector.
I wanted to play by myself in my room, pretending I had friends with that school.
I mean, but how exciting was it? Like, to be the person that turned out the lights, and then of course to have the TV whirled in. When that TV came in, you knew it was on.
My first TV job, the prompter was an overhead projector.
Really?
With scripts that we had to like.
Dang, girl, you're old.
I know.
Is that normal?
It was back then. You're talking 95, 96.
Yeah.
Take the take, baby. All right, Felicia, bring in our next guest.
All right. I got more questions about that. Hold on to that. Okay, guys, let's welcome in Andrew Zanevsky. He is secretary. He's from PFLAG, Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays. You should know that they have hundreds of chapters all over the country, and they are just working to provide support to not only people who are in the LGBTQ community, but also parents and family members of those who identify as that. So welcome, Andrew. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Thank you for being here. How's everything going, particularly with the situation we're in COVID right now? I know a lot of people are spending more time at home, more time to better know their families, get to know their families.
Well, in context of PFLAG, which I represent as one of the directors of the PFLAG Council of Northern Illinois, most of our chapters have started conducting monthly meetings over Zoom. And we're doing that. So parents, families, new families who want to join PFLAG or just come to a meeting, they participate in Zoom meetings, they get support, they share. So our work continues. We will resume face-to-face meetings when the pandemic goes down, but we don't know when that happens.
One of the luckiest things I had in my coming out experience was that I had a very supportive family and a lot of great friends, and that made it obviously a lot easier for me. Not everyone is blessed with such a situation. I know you've gone through a journey with your family as well. What is your advice out there to parents and family members and friends who might be dealing with someone that's coming out?
Well, in our case, I need to talk about my family first so that people know where I'm coming from. We have 3 daughters with my wife. The youngest, who is turning 25, she's transgender. She's a transgender woman. She came out to us about 3.5 years ago. We were unprepared. We didn't anticipate, and frankly, we were quite ignorant on the subject itself. We knew a little bit, but never researched it in depth. So when she came out, which also happened accidentally, we were in shock, but we love our child, and that is the most important thing. So to any parent who has just learned or suspects that their child is LGBTQ, I want to tell you the most important thing is that you love your child. You need to remind yourself and you need to show it to your children that you love them, that their gender identity, their sexual orientation does not matter. You love them as a person, and they may change their name, they may change their loved people, but they will always remain your child. When you say that, this is the most important thing that the child may hear when they come out. And the coming out process is extremely stressful for an LGBTQ person. So while we parents may be in shock, but it is much more stressful for the child coming out. They rely on you. You're their support, their base. And if you react negatively, it may harm them, impact them, and it will harm your relationship. So instead of going through this painful process and then trying to repair and learning gradually, remember, this is not about you. This is about your child. You need to love them, support them, and show them. And that's all they need.
So if a parent is just learning of this and kind of like you taken off guard, is your organization a good place to go to get the support on how to handle the situation?
Absolutely. PFLAG is a national organization. It has hundreds of chapters around the country. So no matter where you live, unless it's in some areas, of course, it may be a rural area where the nearest chapter is far. But in Chicago area, the nearest chapter, there's several chapters within an hour drive from any place where you live in the city or the suburbs. We have 16 or 18, depending on how you count new chapters that are not fully formed, at least 16 chapters in the area. The organization is called PFLAG Council of Northern Illinois, and we hold monthly meetings. And 3 of these chapters are parents of transgender individuals chapters, so they're more specific for people whose kids are transgender. The organization has been incredibly helpful for me and my wife. We went to our first PFLAG meeting 9 days after we learned that our child is trans. And we got emotional support, we got information, and 3 months later, we started volunteering ourselves, because once you feel that you've got what you need from the organization, you've learned something, you feel comfortable, you need to give back and support new families. This is my daughter right now. She's happy. She's an independent adult. She doesn't need me to go to meetings really, because I think I'm informed now. But I volunteer for the organization to help LGBTQ community as a whole, not just my child, but everyone, because this is how we change the society. There is still a huge number of people who are ignorant and who are transphobic, homophobic. So we need to change that. We need to educate. And in my experience, when we came out to our friends and family, a lot of them expressed negative opinions of transgender people before that. After that, they started learning. We gave them information. We didn't approach this as, okay, if you're not with us, we don't want you in our life. Some people do that, and I think they missed the opportunity to educate and convert some people, because most people hold negative opinions not because they're inherently evil, but because they're not informed. They have narrative that was put in their head by someone, and they never questioned it. So once they learn that one of their friends or family members is trans, they start reading something you share with them, and they understand that this is normal. These are normal people. They deserve human rights. And a lot of them shift considerably towards acceptance, tolerance, and support.
I love that. I think that is the first step to understanding and acceptance, as you just said, but certainly understanding what's happening. I mean, I think a lot of parents just are not familiar with or don't get, and so to get that education, from, I guess I want to say from an unbiased source, but a source that is willing to be open to accept that you don't understand and that you are ignorant to that issue, I think is pivotal. I did want to ask what your advice would be, especially, as a parent, if there is a young person that comes, or not a young person, but a person who is identifying in the LGBTQ community that is not getting that support from their family or that acceptance from their family, what would you advise them?
There are different organizations, and PFLAG is just one of them. Well, a child would probably not go by themselves to a PFLAG meeting because they need to be supervised. But there are organizations. Many schools have GSA organizations that support LGBTQ people. There are online organizations and chat groups. I don't have all the links right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what would you tell them as a parent?
As a parent, well, are you asking what should a child do or what should parents do?
No, I'm asking how you would advise the child of an LGBT.
The child who is LGBTQ?
Yes.
Okay, well, they need to seek allies. They need to find someone who is familiar with the subject and who will provide them emotional support. Obviously, if parents are unsupportive, this is the saddest situation that unfortunately happens a lot. And these children are at risk of suicidal ideation, and they're at risk of living home and not getting proper education, not starting their life with enough to not having this base to find a job, to establish themselves as independent adults. These parents injure their children a lot more and deprive them of chances in life. I think they're really bad parents. That I cannot sugarcoat it in any way. So to a child, I would say find organizations that help, find organizations that support you. PFLAG is always ready. Sometimes we get phone calls or emails from people who are in need of help, and we're trying to locate resources. If we don't provide this ourselves, we're a network of parents, and we have connections, and we know access to different user groups on Facebook, and we can locate someone who can help in this particular situation. So
yeah. Look for that support outside of your family if you have to.
I think that it's, I think parents of course, always, no matter their age of their kids, should set up a home in which they teach their children good values about what it means to be gay and what that could mean if you're trans and all that sort of thing. Because at the very, little, you've raised an ally. But you've also set up an environment where someone who is going through that coming out process feels that they can approach you. I mean, you talk about suicide rates for people that are transgender, they're incredibly high. I mean, I think it's some studies show 40% of people that are identified as trans at least have suicidal thoughts or have tried to kill themselves. I think that it's great that parents and PFLAG exists, but we need to talk to all parents to start laying the groundwork as soon as they have children.
I agree with you, absolutely. If parents express some negative opinions of LGBTQ people, not even openly homophobic or transphobic, but just negative opinions, their children will not feel safe coming out to them, and they will suffer, and their relationship with the parent will not be genuine. So even if you don't think that your children are, if you don't think about it at all, from early age, just establish this environment in which you tell your child, you speak about these topics. This is not going to turn anyone LGBTQ. Children are not brainwashed into being transgender. They don't get converted. PFLAG is not an organization that somehow mates LGBTQ people or any other organization like that. So, like you said, if parents establish this loving, supportive, tolerant home where they demonstrate by example that everybody deserves respect and human rights, and LGBTQ people are just people like everybody else, and then the child will feel comfortable, hopefully. It's not a guarantee. I've heard from parents who are extremely supportive, have LGBTQ friends and family members, and the child is still afraid to come out. So Well, so it's still possible. It's not a guarantee, but at least you increase the chances that the child will feel happy.
Eventually.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, that goes without saying for everything in life. You need to make sure your children feel protected and safe and can come to you for anything in life. So I agree with that a whole 100%. Andrew, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And may I plug in the PFLAG site?
We were just about to do that. Go for it.
Okay, pflagil.org or pflagillinois.org if you don't mind typing the whole.
There you go. And also on Facebook as well, PFLAG Northern Illinois. Andrew, thanks again. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Yeah, my parents, I didn't do a very good job clearing my internet history when I was a teenager, so I'm pretty sure they had a good idea very early on. Hey, that's how it happens sometimes, you know? And so my mom would ask, when I was about 21 on, she's like, you know, if you ever have anything you need to tell us, or totally, you know, open, you know, whatever, probably about 18, she started telling me this. And one time I went up to my dad's room and he had a book about parenting and he had it folded open on the nightstand like he was reading it. Right. And it was open to the chapter about if your son is gay or something like that. And it was so silly to open, but I was like, hey, at least they're reading about it. They're getting, I don't know if he even read it, if he just left that open for me as a little clue, like, we're aware that this might be coming soon. Be ready.
We don't know how to do any of this. None of us do. You guys don't know how to do it either. And like when you have a baby, you get all these books on what the bottles parts are for. If you don't read it from somebody, how are you going to know?
Yeah, that's true. No, I always appreciated that. And speaking of pride, you know, in honor of the Stonewall Uprising, each June Americans celebrate LGBTQ Pride Month, and really people across the world do. So in recognition of Pride Month here, CW26 and Aiken Law Office celebrating Agents of Change. We want to hear your stories. Use the hashtag #ShareYourPride and tag us CW26 Chicago, or send in your pride stories and pictures to jamrealshy@wciu.com. We'll be highlighting your Pride Chicago all month long. I need to get my parents on the show to tell that story of my coming out.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I can get them to do Zoom. I'll see them this weekend. Maybe I can get them to record something because it's a really funny story. I'll tell it in full one day.
Yeah. Okay. No, that would be an interesting perspective just to hear it from their side.
Yeah. All right. We'll work on that. Hey, let's move on. Camp Beyond, the world's largest virtual summer camp for kids, is bringing families endless activities, fun, and a chance to make some memories together. So chatting with us now about that is Lindsay Pinchuk from Bump Club Beyond. Lindsay, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Hi, guys.
Hi.
Joining us from your gorgeous kitchen. I love your backsplash, the white cabinets.
Thank you.
How do you have that with kids?
I'm usually not in my kitchen for these because I very rarely cook on TV, but I guess that's what we're doing today.
So Bump Club, I mean, obviously everything's moved virtually here, but we got to keep kids busy. Amy knows that firsthand. So tell us about what your plans are.
Yeah, so like you said, we've moved all of our expectant and new parent stuff online, but we also realized that a lot of our audience members have school-age kids. My kids are 6 and 9. I think you're going to meet them in a minute. But basically what we did was in the middle of the night, we kind of created a concept for a summer camp. And I am a huge camp girl at heart. I went to camp my whole life. My kids both go to camp. My older daughter was supposed to go to overnight camp for her 3rd summer this summer. And so basically our team has put together Camp Beyond, which is, I don't want to say a virtual summer camp because it basically is a way to get kids and parents active and engaged together and to provide as much or as little structure as possible. We're going to do 2 to 3 different activities a day. They will be on campbeyond.com and they'll keep you busy. And the whole gist behind it is busy, fun, memories, and really just getting kids up and out and active and out of the house and really away from the computer. That's what we want.
So the computer will be an outline of things to do. And then, so let me gauge as a working mom with many kids, what's the parental involvement? What things can kids do on their own? What do you need to do with them?
I think that it'll absolutely depend on the day. It'll depend on the age of the child. We're really gauging this for 4 to 10, which I know is a wide range. And so to your point, there will absolutely be things like cooking and maybe some more of the crafty things that parents have to be a little bit more involved with. But I know also as a working parent, especially one that just went through e-learning, as I'm sure you did as well.
Yep.
You know, there was a lot of setting them up and getting them ready to go and letting them do and then come back. And really and truly, that's what this is like. It's my whole thought was, let's continue the structure of e-learning, but in a really fun and engaged way for summer. Really sticking to the heart and the themes of summer camp. And to that point, there will be a theme every single week with Camp Beyond. We have outer space, world games, a color war. We're gonna do an all-American road trip from your home. Just tons of great stuff. And then the activities are gonna be arts and crafts, cooking and recipes, outdoor adventures, games and fitness, campfire concerts. Like last night, I know a lot of the families did stories, and some of them actually were posting pictures on Instagram from their fire pits in their backyard, which was so awesome to see. And we're also going to be engaging charitable components and giving back every single week tied to the theme. So we want to encourage kindness, we want to encourage giving back, and we really want to instill those values in our kids throughout the summer.
That sounds amazing. Like that would be something awesome for adults too.
Yeah.
Out there. Yeah. You said, I heard you say a road trip across America. What would that entail? That actually sounds interesting.
So I think the content is going to be more like based on educate, and there's a whole team putting the content together, to be truthful, and that content is not until week 7 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's really about teaching kids about America and getting them engaged. And I know we're going to be doing stuff like the top like hikes and walking paths like in every state. So we're going to give parents places that they can actually take their kids on field trips that might be close to them. Again, we want to get out, we want to keep active. And I know that right now people really want to stay close to home. So we're going to try to do as much as possible. We'll also probably talk a lot about different cuisines in our cooking from different parts of the country.
Okay, I was just curious. Yeah, I was like, whoa, how are they going to do that? That sounds amazing.
And it's funny too, because as much as I disliked e-learning, when it stopped, there is a huge empty hole of nothingness to fill with my kids' days.
I know it's hard. I know it's been a struggle. I was actually sharing with someone earlier. I think, there are programs that are out there still. And I think, especially as Chicago is moving to phase 4, there are enrichment opportunities, and there are some camps, and there are camps who are doing backyard camps right now too. My daughter just walked in from a High Five backyard camp with 7 of her school friends, and the counselors wear masks and they're in the backyard, and they really do a good job keeping the kids apart from one another. The other thing too is you have to remember, if you do need a little bit of extra help and you're comfortable and you're financially able to do it, there are so many high school and college kids right now who don't have summer jobs. Their internships were canceled and they're looking for ways to keep busy as well. Even just getting someone to come over in the afternoon for a few hours and be outside, maybe with some of the Camp Beyond activities, is a great way to help, keep your kids busy and engaged so that you could get like a chunk of work done at once.
Tell you what, I was so scared to go to sleepaway camp. This would have been perfect for me.
Sleepaway camp is the best. And
I loved it eventually. Once I was forced to go, my parents literally like driving me down there and leaving and peeling out of the parking lot. I loved it after that. But so it's over 8 weeks. I mean, there's a lot of different options as you were talking about. And so do you sign up for a session, a week? How does that work?
So it's totally free. All the content is going to be available at campbeyond.com, and it started yesterday. So you can already go on and get the content. If you missed yesterday, you can do yesterday's today's. And that's why it's so great. It will always be there. It will live there throughout the whole summer. If you register, which I think we have over 12,000 kids registered so far. Yeah, it's awesome. And it's national too. So it's kids across the country, but you can go online and register. And as a registrant, you get perks. Like Mattel is giving everyone a discount on board games. Paper Culture is giving a discount. There's a lot of great little perks if you register. And there will be some surprises along the way. We're working on some campfire concerts right now, some special story times, potential like Zoom classes. So we'll see. There are going to be some surprises. And again, it's all on campbeyond.com. It doesn't matter if you start today, if you start next week. You can do as much or as little as you want. Like, I really wanted this to be on demand for parents and to work for them when they need it to work.
I apologize if you said it, but how much does this cost?
Free.
$3.99.
$3.99.
It is
That's
totally,
amazing.
it's free. It is
That's
totally
amazing.
free. Pediasure is one of our partners who is making this happen for everyone. So That is really exciting. It is totally free to go online to get the content, to do the activities. Of course, if there's supplies, you need to buy them. There is an option to upgrade to like the ultimate camp experience. And when you do, that is $125, and you get a box filled with Camp Beyond, like backpack, hat, t-shirt, merchandise, an apron, and then a craft for every single week.
Hey, you already said free. I'm sold. Okay.
There's good options though for that.
I'm signing my husband up tomorrow.
Something for everyone, which I think is great. And you know, we really wanted to make this available to everyone and anyone and everyone, because I know as a parent, it is so hard right now. And what you were expecting for the summer is not what's happening. And traditional summer opportunities are just not what they look like this year, or not what we thought they would look like this year.
So we understand that you and the girls are going to be making us some pie.
Yes, girls, you want to come on? Come on. We're going to be making a s'more pie. I did get a head start and start it earlier today. Come on over here. Let's put on our smiles.
Put those smiles on.
If you don't want to be in it, you don't have to be in it. I think Lila's just going to watch us. So Jordan,
okay,
help me out. So
hey, everybody.
So
Look
basically, this is a 4-ingredient s'more pie. We have marshmallows, a bag of chocolate chips, heavy cream, and a pre-made graham cracker crust. I'm all about pre-made anything.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's got to be easy. So basically what we did is we microwaved the heavy cream and the chocolate chips in a glass bowl for 2 minutes. And we're going to put it now in the graham cracker crust. Jordan is a great chef. She is always helping out.
It says butter on her sleeve.
Yeah.
Now, actually, you can't see it, but her sweatshirt says "Camp is my happy place."
Oh yeah, that's cute.
Which I totally get.
Oh, for sure.
Jordan would go to summer camp in a heartbeat if she was able to this summer.
Yeah.
So after you put it in the crust, you put saran wrap on it, and then you put it in the refrigerator for 2 to 4 hours. Let it sit, let it gel, and when it comes out, it will look like this.
Okay.
Then we will take the marshmallows.
Oh, this is the best part.
We'll sprinkle them on top. So easy. And then when we're done with that, you just set the broiler on your oven and you stick it in the oven and you let it broil for, it's okay.
Oh, what happened?
We lost the marshmallow.
5-second rule. 5-second rule.
Eat it. 5-second rule.
5-second rule.
Clean over here. You let it broil for a minute and you watch it obviously till it's golden brown. You can go in and turn it, take it out, and then you want to put it back in the fridge so that it gels again. Let it sit for an hour or two, and then you can serve it. And
What temperature did you say that was at? What temperature is that of the pie?
Oil.
Ah.
Let the marshmallows get a little golden brown. And really, this is just a way to have s'mores in your house if you don't have a fire pit. Another take on s'mores. I'm a huge s'more fan. I will eat s'more anything, s'more cookies, regular s'mores, s'more pie. We're going to do some s'more recipes this week during the Welcome to Camp Beyond theme week, as well as some trail mix and some other great opportunities. So lots of fun stuff.
Lots of fun stuff. I love it.
I've got to ask, you have like a giant bag of limes back there. Are you making like adult drinks later on with those?
No.
Guys, you can see over there, yes, I have been hand squeezing margaritas for us and our neighbors on a regular basis.
Wow.
That is the biggest bag of limes I've ever seen in someone's home.
Yeah, awesome. Well, but to make a picture of margarita, you really need like.
You need it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I thought you were going to make key lime pie next.
Yeah.
No, margarita's even better.
We're giving
know.
too much credit, you guys. I mean, really and truly, like I try so hard with the cooking, and I know we've all been like at home making dinners and meals so much more than we ever have before, and I think I'm getting much better at it. But a recipe like this that is just 4 ingredients and super easy, this is really my style.
Felicia, you could do this too.
Yeah, we need adult.
Good.
Well,
Yeah.
we're talking. Oh,
I'm talented, Amy.
we had a cake issue earlier in quarantine. Just saying.
That was 3 months ago. We're not going to bring that up.
You don't need baking powder or soda in this sucker, so you are good to go. Lindsay, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it as well. Have a great week.
Let's
Thanks,
get the
you
information
too.
up on the screen where you can register now for Camp Beyond. CampBeyond.com, 8-week virtual summer camp. And there it is, Felicia, free.
That's perfect. No, because honestly, what she said, everything she said comes with it. I was like, oh, this has to cost a few dollars, you know?
Right.
And-
You were just hearing margarita, margarita, margarita.
I was like, this has to be, a few $100 or something, but that's a lot. That's all.
Amy, has it been challenging to pivot from e-learning now to kind of the summer, or are you just kind of like, well, do what you want?
No. So we've had to, like, with the first week of school out, we kind of let him do whatever he wants to. And now, we had to put the smackdown on. We've got all the limits on all the electronics. They don't start till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. He only gets 3 hours on the Xbox. He gets 2 hours on the iPad. It all shuts down at 6, regardless if he's used it all the time. So
that's not bad, though. I mean, you provided structure, but there's also flexibility within it. I'm not mad at this schedule.
Yeah.
Not that it matters what I think.
Felicia approved.
Not that it matters. Well, you want balance, though. You want them to be able to have their free time. At the same time, you can't go too far. And we have to do that for ourselves, too.
Right.
Yes.
Quarantine, we still need to get in bed at a reasonable time.
Yep.
We can't just drink Monday through Friday, although some might, but I don't. But you need to do a little bit of workout. We have structure as adults, so you need to put that in your kids' life.
I think it's really easy to say, oh, these kids and these electronics are on them all the time. But and I would love to say, oh, I spent every summer playing outside. I played outside a lot, don't get me wrong, but I plopped down in front of CNN for hours as an 8-year-old too. So, I mean, I can't judge these kids.
Yeah, we had 3 channels growing up, so we just played outside.
Right.
Hey, let's talk about the summer barbecue. Oh gosh, I'm so excited about this. I love grilling, and I hope you do too. So what we want you to do is send us your recipes, and then we're gonna try and replicate them next week. So these can be like barbecue recipe or side. You got a good side dish, that's fine too.
You can't forget about the sides now.
No, Felicia's going to do the sides. I'm going to do the grilling. And Amy's just going to drink for all of us. And we're going to have a backyard barbecue next week. So send those summer recipes to the website you saw there, cw26chicago.com.
I already sent mine in this morning.
Is it good? Do you know what was it?
It was a dessert, because I don't grill. Let's be honest.
Wait, do I have to make the recipe I sent in?
No.
Yes, we're just getting the ball rolling for people.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, I got to go get ingredients.
I want a really complex grill one, so just send one in.
Okay. All right, guys. Our next guest, you may know him from NBC's The Voice. He was on Team Pharrell. Since then, he has gone on to produce music for lots of big guys. Let's say, I don't know, Chance the Rapper, Eva, bunch of big names out there, and he is joining us this morning. Now, Darius Scott, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
This is wonderful. You have been a busy man since you made your TV debut.
Yeah, been working pretty hard.
How is that all working out for you in quarantine? I would imagine it kind of gives you some time to actually really focus on some stuff.
Yeah, I signed a record deal back in November, and I had a project that I was going to put out, and then quarantine happened, and I made a completely new project while being here at my house. And I've also been able to work on other people's stuff too while being at home. And you're right, I've been super focused.
Did you learn any new instruments? Because you already know how to play, like 8 or 9 of them?
No, I didn't learn any new instruments, but I did get better at working Pro Tools. So I'm very excited about that.
I wanted to ask, what instruments do you play? Like, do you list them all? And I mean, actually, you could pick up and play I don't know, I'm not saying it's part of a band, but something. What do you play?
Yeah, I play drums. I play keyboards, piano, organ. I play guitar, bass. I play woodwinds. My mom was a woodwind player, so I play clarinet, flute, oboe. I'm not so good at saxophone. It's like the one woodwind instrument that I'm not so good at. But
you can play the oboe with that reed? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the reed is a little interesting, but I had to play it in college. So
had to play it in college?
Yeah, well, they found out I could play woodwind, so it was like it's like, what can you play? And the oboe is definitely the hardest one for sure.
That's awesome. Did you learn them all? Do you just started hey, I need to pick up another one. I need to pick up another one.
It kind of came out of necessity. I feel like with drums, keyboards, and guitars, my father was a pastor, so at the church, there would be needs for different instrumentation, and I would just pick them up and learn them. As far as the woodwind goes, I started in elementary school, and my mom kind of became my teacher. She tried to, at least for a little while, and then she got annoyed with me, and I ended up teaching myself. So
that's right. Right where I am right now, I've got a 10-year-old who's just started on saxophone.
Yes. So she got to know me very quickly. So
I want to know, who are some of the musicians that have inspired you? When I listen to you, I hear R&B and I hear you singing falsetto. Who's inspired you?
I listen a lot to Prince. Prince is like one of my biggest inspirations. I also love Michael Jackson. I'm one of those fans that like can't decide which one I like the most. Stevie Wonder is by far one of my biggest songwriting inspirations. Donny Hathaway as well. I listen to a lot of, ironically, I listen to a lot of hip hop too. I'm a big fan of The Roots. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Chance the Rapper, even though it's my friend and I work with him. Vic Mensa, also from Chicago. So my musical tastes are pretty varied, but I'm inspired by all those people for sure.
You were from Georgia originally, but you live in Chicago now. I imagine each city, each place has its own different scene and its own different vibe that you can kind of take a little bit from and use.
For sure. Atlanta is definitely a musical hotbed. I mean, obviously, there were a lot of big labels started in Atlanta. There's a lot of big acts from Atlanta, but Chicago has a very special music scene. A lot of the musicians, both young and old, still work with one another, which I think is super cool. And a lot of these musicians in Chicago are actually really friends. Like when I see one musician, I see all of them at one time, whether we're making music or just having a good time with one another. And I really enjoy the community here in Chicago.
All right, so take us back to when you get on The Voice. What was it like to get selected for Pharrell's team?
It was a process, I will say. I auditioned actually, I think 4 times before I got on. And finally one stuck. I had given up on music. I was sitting at my desk working a retail job on the executive level and got the phone call. And I instantly packed up, told my boss, I was like, I got to run to Austin to audition. And I got on the show that season. So it was amazing. But it was a long process. I had definitely auditioned at least 4 times before I got on.
Wow. That's got to feel pretty good to see chairs turn around for you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. That was a moment. And the funny part is I technically got 3 chairs, but I always count Blake's chair as the 4th one because he had already picked all the members of his team. So he couldn't have chosen me anyway. But he turned around at the end to tell me that. So I was really hyped about that.
Yeah, chair malfunction there. Yeah, against the rules. There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, I gotta know, as someone that not only you do your own music, but you help other people and you produce for other people too. What's that like when comparing something that's your baby, your voice, what you're doing versus kind of, I don't want to say giving it to someone else, but collaborating with someone else for that's gotta be they're 2 different animals.
I kind of treat them the same. I try to go into every session that I work on with the same ideology. It's like whatever is best for the record, that's what I'll do. So even with Chance, there's a lot of things that like didn't make the record that I did just because it wasn't best for the record. But I had the intention from day one to just do my best work for him. Even with Peter Cottontail, Chance's music director, he also just released an album that I worked on pretty heavily. And that's what it was. I try to bring that same energy to every session, just try to be what's best for the record.
I love that you do all this music because you seem like such a mellow guy, but you do like all this like big music,
Yeah, I'm theatrical. I do have a theater background, so I'm pretty mellow in my regular life. But when it's time to make music, I really just go for feeling. I try to make people feel something, whatever it is. If it's happy, if it's sad, if it's a feeling of wanting to dance. I feel like a lot of records on my new project are danceable records, so I'm very excited about that. But I'm really about the theatrics, and when it's time to perform, for sure.
You have done so much already. I mean, what else do you want to do? Where do you go from here?
I think it's time. My last project that I dropped in 2018 did really well for it to be completely independent. Now that I'm signed, I'm really hoping that more people will, hear the music and enjoy the music the same way I enjoy making it. I definitely want to do film and television and theater at some point. And I always make the joke that by the time I'm like 40, I'll be an executive somewhere at a record company helping other artists be great at what they do. So
That's awesome. I want to ask about your jacket because I love what's written on it. A reverse company. What is that?
This jacket is actually from a Chicago designer, a Black Chicago designer, Joe Fresh Goods. He runs a collective with some other Black designers called Fat Tiger Works. And I've always been a fan of them even before I moved to Chicago. So when I got here, I was like, I got to support the Chicago brand. So shout out to Joe Fresh Goods for sure.
Wait, what does it say?
It says a reverse gentrification company. So it's like a worker's jacket. It's actually a really cool message. So I love this jacket. Anything in Black, I'm a big fan of.
Is there anyone that you haven't worked with yet that you really are like, oh man, I gotta collaborate with this person?
Yeah, I feel like I haven't worked with Beyonce yet. And I'm very excited. I've met her before and she's the queen, obviously, but yeah, I would love to work on anything that she has going on.
Yeah,
Sure.
Pharrell's
You'll play
worked
any of
with
those
her.
8 instruments, whatever instrument she wants, you'll get there.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. Yeah,
You want
and
an
I heard
oboe
you say-
solo? You're gonna get there in the middle. You'll have no problem.
Pharrell
I heard
has
you
worked
say
with
Pharrell.
her. Did he say anything about what it was like working with her or any stories from that?
I have heard him talk about it, not extensively. Obviously, if you know anything about Beyonce, she keeps things pretty quiet until it's time to release. But I know that everybody that I know personally that have worked with her and said it's been an incredible experience. So I can't wait to be among that list of people that gets to work with her.
That's awesome.
Krista Green, who's our social media reporter, and she's a great dancer. She wants to know, you got any danceable records? I'm listening.
Yeah, I do. So on my first project, Young, I have a few danceable records. I would say there's a record called Fall Through that was a single from the album. A record called Cold that I love to perform and just play around the house. Those are definitely danceable records. And then on this new project, we have quite a few danceable records. I'm very excited about the rollout for that, for sure.
When does that happen?
When do
you roll that one out?
I'm hoping that it's going to be a summer record. That's my hope. I don't rush. I try to take my time with everything. Even though we shot the video for Big Brave Man in a day and had it done in like 2 days, we still took a lot of time crafting what the video would be. So I want to be able to provide visuals for this project too. So it might take a little more time. So if it's not a summer record, it'll definitely be early fall for sure.
You had a new song released on Father's Day, I imagine meant a lot to you.
Yeah, it meant a lot to me, man. My father passed away on Father's Day in 2019 while I was working on Chance's album, The Big Day. So I was already pretty busy. My schedule was really hectic. So it was a difficult time, but my father was always encouraging me, like, get your butt back to Chicago and finish these records. I'll be fine. Don't worry about me. But I spent a lot of time going back and forth from Chicago to Atlanta over about a 1.5 year period, just checking in with my father and making sure that he had all his medical needs. So this song just kind of hit me one day, after he had passed, and I made the demo and I was just gonna put it out on Instagram on Father's Day. That was always the plan. And then my record label heard it and was like, nah, we got to release this, as a full single. Like, would you mind going and finishing the record? And that's what I did. And I'm so glad I did that. In his honor.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we are expecting some more awesomeness from you, sir.
That's true.
I'm excited. I can't wait for y'all to hear this music. Hopefully I'll be back talking to y'all about the new album. I haven't named it yet, or else I would have plugged it, but I'm excited to hear the music.
Well, as soon as it comes back, it's coming out. You get in touch with us. We'll have you back on.
Exciting. I'm excited to do it. Maybe I can do a performance for you guys with one of the songs. Yeah.
Yes.
Hopefully all this quarantining will be over so I can dance with y'all for sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Now my ears perked up. Yeah.
You're speaking our language.
Yeah. Thanks, Darius. Good luck, man.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You.
Appreciate
So
it.
funny. He had us perform.
Yes. There's the information where you can find his stuff, and Big Brave Man, a new release available on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube too, DariusScott.com. And I always like when they spell music with the K there, Darius, so that was good.
Only cool people do that, John.
Yeah, that's why I spell it with a C. I don't qualify.
Oh, man.
All right.
You guys, we have our 2 p.m. show coming up in a couple hours, obviously. We have twin actresses London and Sedona Fuller from Captain Marvel and Bombshell. I'm sure they are going to wow us with personality.
Personality, great way to end the 2 o'clock hour too. We're going to play another game, I believe.
Two truths and a lie. Two truths and a lie.
All together for a game in a while.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
We need it.
We're going to get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. See you too.